In Indonesia, nothing is feared more than instability. But scenes like these have become more common. After 3 decades of military-backed rule, large cracks are beginning to appear in the new order regime. But as with many things here, first appearances can deceive. This isn't a riot at all. It's a police training exercise for the election campaign. And like the election itself, the uniformed men in charge are making sure nothing is left to chance, least of all the outcome. This is the ruling Golkar Party's star campaigner. Siti Hardiyanti Rukmana, or Tutut, is a tycoon with a vast business empire. She also happens to be President Surhato's eldest daughter. Like the rest of the first family, she's treated like royalty. Despite accusations of corruption, collusion and nepotism, Golkar's leaders show no sign of being under any pressure. After all, these people can afford to be confident. They know they're going to win.
The ABC. Just wondering if we can do a quick interview with you before you go to the board? Okay, thank you very much.
If you do get an interview with the president's daughter, don't expect to be alone.
70,02 ya, 02%. Jadi kita berusaha untuk mencapai target yang telah ditetapkan oleh DP Golkar secara nasional, dan semua itu tentunya akan berhasil dengan dukungan dari rakyat Indonesia, karena kami golongan karya ini seluruh kader-kadernya berbuat
Could we be looking at the prospect of a Surhato dynasty, maybe?
No, tidak ada dinasti Surharto. Semuanya adalah sesuai dengan sistem yang berlaku di Indonesia. Jadi,
despite being surrounded by local journalists, not one asked a question. But it wasn't for lack of interest. Next day, the Surhato dynasty story was front-page news across Indonesia. What to a foreign journalist appeared a harmless inquiry was for the bridled local press a question deemed too tough and too risky to ask. Most people here don't ask their political leaders tough questions. They're simply too afraid to directly challenge the government, and with good reason. Those who do run the risk of having the full weight of the country's security forces come crashing down upon them, often with dire consequences. Take the example of the young activist Budiman Sudjatmlko. I first met Budiman a year ago in the lead-up to the Jakarta riots. He and his fellow activists from the People's Democratic Party, along with thousands of others, were showing their support for pro-democracy leader Megawati Soekarno Putri. Budiman was quick to impress. Fearless and bright, he appeared to have the makings of a future political leader. Budiman argued that too many people had been marginalised under Surhato's rule and that the country was in urgent need of political reform. Using their networks among workers, farmers and students, Budiman's PRD sought radical change and was prepared to go out on a precarious limb to achieve it.
Justru saat ini yang utama dulu adalah bagaimana massa itu termobilisasi dengan banyak dulu.
In the wake of the riots, Megawati's popularity and international profile saved her from prosecution, but the authorities had no concerns about turning on the little-known and left-wing PRD. Budiman Sudjatmlko was arrested and charged with subversion. Several weeks ago, as his trial drew to an end, I met Budiman again, this time behind the bars of a court holding cell. Budiman, last time we spoke to you, you were a free man. How have you been treated in custody?
there are some of my friends that have been tortured, by electricity, by electricity. They beat our friends in Surabaya, in Jakarta. But especially for me, they just intimidating me. It has nothing to do with the...
In the face of a possible death penalty, these young men have remained defiant to the last. They're the stormtroopers of Indonesian activism. Every chance they get to preach their message is grasped, even as they're led away to face their judges.
Partai Rakyat Demokratik untuk rakyat tertindas. Hidup demokrasi! Hidup PRD! Mereka pemilu! Mereka pemilu!
The court that Budiman appears before is far from independent. These judges are under intense political pressure, and it's rare for them not to bend. Like the national elections, the outcome of Budiman's trial is a foregone conclusion. This is the final day of hearings. Budiman tells the judges he won't be entering a plea. He declares their court to be unjust. Instead, he says he'll read a statement. There's an adjournment as the court decides. Budiman's mother and father watch their son's daring performance from the public gallery. They both support his stand and have suffered as a consequence. The military accused Budiman's father of being a communist, ignoring the fact that he's a devout Muslim.
Saya seyakin-yakinnya Budiman itu melakukan yang benar karena dia membela orang kecil. Gitu, itu keyakinan saya. Apakah orang yang membela orang kecil mesti komunis? Enggak kan?
Eventually, Budiman returns to court having won agreement to read his statement.
Kami face-to-face dengan Surhato langsung.
With a flourish, he dismisses his lawyers.
Kami akan face-to-face dengan rejim ini langsung.
As foreign diplomats, journalists and supporters look on, Budiman begins to read from a carefully prepared text, making full use of what may be the last public platform he has.
Pernyataan tersebut dilahirkan langsung dari sebuah kebenaran yang ditentukan. Sekali lagi, satu orang dan bukan satu kebetulan belaka.
It's not long before this natural politician is in full rhetorical flight. The gallery is impressed, the judge is clearly not. Over 4 hours, Budiman presents a stinging critique of the Surhato regime. On the bench, the judges struggle to stay awake. The packed courtroom is anything but bored. By the end, only the judges and prosecution remain unmoved. Budiman is led back to prison. The verdict and sentencing will take place in 1 week's time.
Budiman, how do you feel about the prospect of spending maybe more than 10 years, maybe 15 years in jail?
Yeah, we still believing that we could lead the party from the prison, and I think still we could communicate with the other people, the member of PRD, through letter or something like that. And we could call the international solidarity from the Australian community also, to put pressure on this government.
Lihatlah rakyatku. Ini kami mahasiswa. Ketika kami berdemo, dihadapkan dengan pasukan-pasukan. Apa yang kami lakukan? Itu untuk rakyat kecil. Kami tidak ambisi dan kami tidak ingin menjadi apa segalanya yang kami mimpikan.
The day of the verdict has arrived. Budiman and the other activists are taken back to court. They've been in custody for nearly a year, but their spirits haven't fallen.
Kami siap untuk yang terburuk. Hukuman mati sekalipun.
Sistem
Hidup demokrasi. Boykot pemilu. Boykot pemilu. Boykot pemilu.
Once again, Budiman tells the judges he has no faith in their justice. What's more, he says he doesn't care what verdict they hand down and announces he's leaving the court.
Hidup demokrasi. Boykot pemilu.
Soal saudara itu mau mendengarkan. Jadi ini perlu kita ingatkan sebagai sesama umat manusia ya, bahwa kita ini hidup di negara yang beradab, ya.
Saya bapaknya, kasih kesempatan. Ini ibunya. Saya orang tuanya, kasih kesempatan.
Within the crush, Budiman's mother and father attempt to embrace their son. His mother is distraught, crying out as Budiman is led away. On the streets outside, protesters gather. So do the police. Then plainclothes agents from state intelligence, known to everyone here as Intel, move in. Their target is not just the protesters. Journalists are also subjected to their thuggery. Even the foreign media is not exempt. In his absence, Budiman Sudjatmlko is sentenced to 13 years in prison.
Hilang, semakin hilang. Keadilan di negeri ini.
Penjara tak membuat kami jerah. Kami akan berjuang sampai mati. Kami akan berjuang. Boykot pemilu.
As he's taken to jail, Budiman seizes every last opportunity to address his supporters.
Surharto akan mendapatkan buahnya. Rakyat sudah pintar. Rakyat sudah pintar. Rakyat sudah kritis. Mata dunia melihat. Mata dunia melihat. Mata melihat.
And so ended Budiman's day in court. It's not just radicals who rail against rampant corruption and repression, it's the mainstream. These people belong to the Muslim-based PPP. It's a state-sanctioned party, but with the banning of Megawati's Indonesian Democratic Party, it served as a de facto opposition during the current elections. Although part of the elaborate facade of Indonesian democracy, these people also feel that they've been marginalised, and they're angry about it.
IDT yang hanya dimakan oleh atasan-atasan pejabat yang selalu mengantongi uang dari atas untuk keperluan sendiri. Jadi rakyat kecil tidak terima dan hanya partai P3 lah yang masih berasaskan akidah Islam. Jadi kami harus ikuti.
The military now claims Budiman's PRD is responsible for these outbursts. They steadfastly refuse to acknowledge that by muzzling political debate, not only have they angered radicals, but also the mainstream. The dissatisfaction felt by many Indonesians hasn't been so deep since the beginning of Surhato's rule. Meanwhile, a young man begins his long prison term. Budiman Sudjatmlko is 27 years old. He'll be 40 before he can again walk free on Jakarta's streets.